future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Welcome to Live, Love, Thrive Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you by 360karma.com. I've got a great show for you today. We have on the extraordinary Sylvie Rokab, who's a producer and director of acclaimed film Love Thy Nature. And then later in the show, we have serial entrepreneur SenYon Kelly. So stay tuned for that. Right now, please give a warm welcome to Sylvie Rokab. Hi.
Hey, Catherine.
I finally got you on my show.
Great being here.
I know you're always gallivanting around the world and doing exciting things, and I'm so happy to have you on today.
I'm glad to be here,
Yeah.
Especially we've known each other for so long.
I know.
And now you have a talk show, and this is really exciting.
Isn't this cool?
So it's only natural, right?
Yeah, so to give people a little background about us, we actually met back in Miami.
That's right.
Yeah, and who knew we'd both end up in L.A.?
I had no idea back
Yeah.
then.
So, we both being filmmakers had a film at a festival, and some mutual friend introduced us.
Right.
And we were there cheering each other's films on.
Exactly.
And here we are, I think 15 years later in L.A.,
That's
still
right.
cheering each other on.
We're still cheering each other
Yeah.
on. Like, I don't know how many years ago that was, that probably like 15 or 17
I think
years
it was,
ago, right?
yeah.
And it's like,
Well-
I remember we went out to a party and we were talking about each other's films, and it's like, you know, all of
Yeah.
a sudden I realized when I'm moving out here, you had already moved. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it was like
Yeah.
such a great surprise.
Yeah, we didn't even know each other was moving here. It was
Right.
a weird thing.
I know.
And I know at the time we both had a film in the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival.
Right.
And unfortunately, we both also had just lost a parent.
Right.
And I think that was kind of bonding.
Yeah.
I'd lost my mom, and you had lost your dad.
Right.
And, so we
Yeah.
were kind of there for each other, and
Right.
even as new friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was tough.
I know.
It's tough losing a parent,
It
isn't
really
it?
is.
Oh
I miss my
God.
dad terribly till this day.
Yeah, yeah. If somebody said to me, what was the worst day of your life, I'd say definitely when I lost my mom.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
like surreal,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah, it
Because you
is.
just kind of feel like they'll always be there. Even though
Yeah.
now you do feel like they're with you. Do you feel like he's with
I
you?
do.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
And in the
not the
simplest
same
things.
because you don't get the cards and the
Exactly.
hugs. And
You
the,
can't get the hug. You can't
Yeah.
call and say happy birthday, Dad. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, those kinds of things. We
yeah.
don't-
Okay,
we
now
kinda
we're going
take
to
it for
change the
granted,
subject because
but,
I'm getting sad.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's part
Yeah.
of life, right?
Yeah, it is
Birth,
part of life. But you
death.
still have your mom. You're
I
so
have
lucky.
my mom, and she's 82, and she's very
Yeah.
healthy.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, and she's moving to Miami.
That's so exciting.
God willing, knock on wood,
Yeah.
we're working on that.
Yeah.
Immigration papers and all of that. So.
Yeah, so your journey was you were born in Rio,
Right.
which I absolutely love. I actually been to Rio. I went with a friend of mine to a film
it's a
festival
beautiful
there.
city, isn't it?
It's a beautiful.
Yeah.
And the people are beautiful. I love them. And
Yes,
it
we
was-
are.
Yeah, yeah. I actually went to the festival in. Oh gosh, I just drew a blank on the name.
Was it Carnival?
Yeah, no. I went to the biggest city there, which is
Well, the biggest city would be São Paulo.
Sao Paulo. Yes.
Okay.
So the festival, the film festival was in Sao Paulo.
Right.
And I said, if I'm all the way here, I'm going to see Rio because that was on my bucket list. That was a dream.
And it's pretty close when you think of it, coming
Yeah.
from Los Angeles, especially,
Oh,
or Miami,
very
all the way to
close.
Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an hour flight
Right.
between Rio and São Paulo. So
Yeah,
you
so
have to
I
go
was
to
like,
Rio.
you know, and I'd seen Copacabana in the
Yeah.
films, and I'm like, I'm so there.
I
So
know.
it was-
Isn't it super? I mean, it's a very cool city in so many ways and filled with culture and food and music and multiculturalism, too.
Yeah,
I mean, we
it's
have so
beautiful.
much African influence and,
Yeah.
you know, the music from Africa that has blended with, you know, indigenous and Portuguese and then European traditions. Just, it makes the country be very rich
Yeah.
culturally. And people are just very happy and open.
They
and I can, you know,
are.
I'm kind of joking when I say we because I'm kind of a fake Brazilian in a way. I was born and raised in Rio,
Yeah.
but my parents were born and raised in Egypt.
Yeah.
And they were French and Italian living in Egypt. So I was really raised French and Italian in Brazil, went to French school. So I felt a little bit like, you know, an immigrant in Brazil.
And now
even though I was
and then
born
you
there.
came here to Miami for
came here.
3 months, and now you've stayed in the U.S. for 30 years. So
Right.
you're very American now.
Very
Yeah.
American. Yeah, my
Yeah.
brothers joke around with me. They say, "You're a gringa already. Forget it." You know, because I've lived in the U.S. longer than I've lived in Brazil.
Right.
So you know,
Yeah.
it's interesting that way. But once you change cultures, there's something that happens. You kind of switching cultures again.
Yeah.
Is not such a big deal as it is.
So let me ask you this:
You know.
since you've switched cultures,
Right.
So when they would say to me at this film festival in Brazil, "Okay, we'll be in the lobby for dinner at 8:30," and then you'd go and you'd wait till 9,
Was it really
9:30,
8:30?
10 o'clock. They'd finally show up,
Oh,
and I'm
my
like,
goodness.
"Okay." So the
It
next
can be
night they said,
bad.
"Be in the lobby at 8:30," and we
Yeah.
showed up at 10, right when they did. So
Oh, my
I
goodness.
caught on to your culture really quickly.
Well, yeah.
Now,
Some
did
people
you
can
take
go
that with you here,
overboard.
or did you
No,
Americanize?
it's being raised French. If I were 5 minutes
'Cause you
late,
were on
I'd be in
time.
trouble. I'd be in trouble. I was always the one to be
You
on
would have been in
time.
trouble if you were late today.
Yeah, but there was also a way to know, you know, what kind of friends do you want to hang out with?
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like, yeah, the culture is very flexible and time is fluid.
Yeah.
But waiting 10 minutes is okay. 15 is okay.
An
After
hour and a
that,
half.
No, that's really, wow.
Yeah, so-
it happened to me once where
Yeah.
somebody made me wait that long. It was
Yeah.
somebody I was dating, which you can imagine doesn't go very well.
That was over that
was,
night.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say quite there, but it was bad. It was bad. That's all I can tell.
So you obviously adjusted to the U.S. culture with no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always sort of, even as a kid, even though Brazilian music is amazingly happy and delicious, or I shouldn't say happy. I mean, it's got the whole gamut of
Yeah.
rhythms and, you know, different styles of dance. And I was really into British and American rock. So as a
Oh.
kid, I was already learning English, even though I wasn't in English classes.
They're like Beatles, Rolling
Just
Stones, stuff like
Beatles.
that.
I
Yeah.
mean, I remember the Police was in Brazil, and
Yeah.
I got into the Police, and then Sting, and then, you know, other groups like, you know, The Cure, U2. I mean, I grew up with these
Yeah.
bands, and
Yeah.
so I was just, and Pink Floyd to me was like the ultimate like mind expansion experience.
Yeah.
And I remember reading those lyrics, like devouring lyrics,
Yeah.
like, you know, and so absorbing not just, and of course I'm blending the English culture and the British culture with American, which isn't
Right.
really fair to either culture. But for me, it was like the Anglo-Saxon culture. It was
Right.
very different from the Latin,
Right.
Brazilian, you know, Portuguese
And
influence.
you kind of wore it like like a comfortable shoe.
I did because
Yeah.
it felt like it resonated in so
Right.
many ways.
Yeah.
The lyrics did. And of course, you know, I had the influence of like, you know, American movies, and I started falling in love with movies and like just eating popcorn and drinking a soda and watching those spectacular films, whether
Yeah.
they were nature films or whether they were just beautiful. You know, Odyssey 2001, I remember I was still a teenager, I was struck by it. It's like, oh my gosh. You
Yeah.
know, so just being immersed in movies.
I
But,
want to talk about how you got into filmmaking,
Right.
and I know you have this beautiful film out called Love Thy Nature, and I want to get to that and why you picked nature. And I know it stems from your childhood. Your
Right.
mom was very artistic, and your
Yeah.
dad was a techie, and kind of you married the two through camera, filmmaking, and art. Kind of a
That's
beautiful
a great
mix
way to
of the
put it.
two,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And you had such an interesting childhood where your mom immersed you in nature and art. And
Yeah.
you told me she would have you guys like paint to classical music. And
Right.
she sounded really cool, you know?
She is very
Yeah.
cool. She really is. She would put us kids around, you know, me, my brother, my younger brother wasn't born at the time, but like cousins and friends. And she would just watch us, and she would change the music, whether it's Beethoven or whether it was Bach. She would just examine like what kind of colors would we pick according to what music was playing.
That's
it's-
fascinating.
I mean, this is even before
Yeah.
there's been science since then that has proven that there is a connection in terms of
Wow.
like how we pick our colors and how colors have an influence on our well-being and also on how we pick up energy from
Yeah.
colors and music.
Yeah.
But in any case, back then, nobody was studying that stuff, but she
Yeah.
was very curious and she wanted to explore that. And, you know, with the connection with Love Thy Nature, Mom, both Mom and Dad, he loved she loves nature. And so
Yeah.
we would go, I mean, you remember Rio is embedded in a forest.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
So, and it's got all these amazing beaches, right?
Right. And you
So
have
it's like-
waterfalls and
Right.
just all kinds of beautiful
Rivers
nature.
and,
Yeah.
I mean,
and part of your film was
peacocks and-
shot there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did go to Brazil. I did go to Brazil quite a few times to shoot several scenes, and pickup scenes were not so hard because back then I was going back and forth.
Yeah, and I want to talk about your earlier films too, because when we met, you had made a film called Inner Motion.
That's right.
And that was fascinating to me because that was about how dance can help heal children of incest and sexual abuse.
Right, exactly. It
And-
was a really painful story, but that ultimately turns into triumph because I was really drawn to how these people were able to take their childhood experiences that were very difficult. I mean, we're talking about children who were abused by like their uncles or cousins, and even in some cases, in 2 cases, their fathers or stepfathers. Which to a child it doesn't really make a difference, but they made it, and they created this one woman, Sharon Doherty. She created an organization that was all about helping people heal from this trauma through dance.
Wow.
And she found me. I mean, I was already doing documentaries
Yeah.
in Miami, and 2 different people referred her to me and said, you know, there's this woman who does documentaries. Maybe you want to talk to her. And we bonded, and I felt that her mission was really incredibly important. Her mission is to break secrecy around childhood sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like what's going on in the world today with the sexual abuse and whatnot, harassment
Right.
in the workplace. It's also all the time these topics in every arena are under the carpet, hush, hush.
Yeah.
But now people are trying to lift that carpet up and talk about it because
Exactly.
it's like anything. When you shed light on it, you help it to go away, right?
Exactly. And the whole thing around, especially when there's sex involved, whether it's sexual harassment or childhood sexual abuse, I mean, especially with children, I mean, there's a profound sense of shame. And so they are raised to never, ever talk about it.
Right.
And so using dance and theater and eventually making it a film gave folks an opportunity to actually have their stories be heard. And other people realized that, wow, if they can do this journey of healing, I can too, for the folks who have had these kinds of experiences.
What a wonderful inspiration.
So it was really extraordinary in terms of like, for me, when I'm filming something, I like to get really close to my subjects because ultimately, I mean, they're opening their hearts, they're opening their stories, and you know, I have a lot of respect for people who allow themselves to be on camera, especially when they're talking about something that is difficult.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
It's one thing when you're happy and you're, you know, having fun or entertainment.
Yeah.
It's another thing when you're actually shedding some of the darkest secrets of your life.
Right.
And so for me, it was a great opportunity to get close to these folks. You know, I feel honored that they trusted me enough to let me tell their story. And, you know, ultimately for me, it was also a great way to start doing more long feature-length,
Excuse me.
independent, film stories. Yeah. So,
Well, so from there, excuse me, I have a cold today.
yeah.
So from there, you started working with HBO and Comedy Central and doing some television.
So in
Right?
truth, you know, it's kind of funny because people get surprised when I said I started my career working on projects for HBO. HBO was like, I helped to edit, you know, with this wonderful group. It was called Walker Fitzgibbon, Mo and Rob Walker, amazing people. And they gave me an opportunity to be an assistant editor for shows that were either music videos. So we worked with John Cicada and, you know, Gloria Estefan and Emilio Estefan. And, you know, one of the first editing projects that I worked on was basically like a multi-camera. At the time, high definition was just starting to become more mainstream. and being able to edit a show that was for HBO of Gloria Estefan.
Wow.
On tour. It was delightful imagery, and I mean, all the musical elements to it was just incredible. So I started doing that, and I also edited a show for Comedy Central. And eventually, at the same time, I was starting to do small documentaries, independent documentaries. And eventually, after I worked on Intermotion, I was hired to be the writer, director, line producer, editor, and shooter of this series that's called House of Babies. And it was all about the joy and drama of having babies naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It was about natural childbirth.
Oh, my.
So that was also very cool.
I remember someone asking me in my 20s or something would I film their delivery, and I'm like, no. So I can't imagine. That must have been a challenging job.
It's very intense, and it's also very beautiful. I think that, you know, the women and the people who have had the experience of, you know, either delivering babies or having closeness or having experienced somebody, witnessed somebody delivering a baby, it's incredibly powerful. It's like
where you're witnessing a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
It really is. It was incredible.
And don't you think everything that you do in life leads to what you're doing next? So that gave you all of that learning capabilities of editing and producing and all of that to do your own big projects, which then led to Love Thy Nature, which is something I know you've been working on for 10 years. And it's like you're really crowning glory.
That's my baby.
That's your baby.
That was my turn to give birth to, you know, a project that was really in my heart from the time I was very, very young, I think.
And I know, because you grew up with all that nature and I think you said going to the Atlantic forest and, you know, being surrounded with all that with your mom. And then this film is so beautiful that you've done. It's like some of the best cinematography I've ever seen in a film. It's really breathtaking.
Thank you.
I know you shot it in 4 different countries, right?
That's right. So we shot in Brazil, like we were mentioning before, and Namibia, which is northwest of South Africa, for the African mammals and the African scenes. We have many scenes of Africa, actually.
I think we have a picture of you with ostrich? Ostrich.
That's right. Yeah, she was chasing me. I was like, my goodness, I wish I were that lucky with humans. She wouldn't let me go. But it was so funny.
Woman marries ostrich.
I know, right? Yeah.
You could have made history there.
Totally, right? Yeah. Me and my ostrich.
Would have been good PR for your film.
You want to come to America with me?
And then
I filmed in British Virgin Islands as a third country, and that's where I did all of the cinematography, basically for like underwater stuff. Cool. And I'm a diver too, and I love filming underwater.
Oh, wow.
So that to me was like, oh my gosh,
I'm
working here.
Yeah.
And then in the United States, it was from Hawaii to Alaska to New York City for all of the time lapse busy city scenes, and went to Florida, and of course all over California, from Los Angeles.
Where can people see Love Thy Nature? It's on demand?
So Love Thy Nature is available now a little bit everywhere, I say it. I mean, it's you can definitely get it through lovethynature.com, which is on our website, and you know, there are all the options there.
And I know I saw it at the theater. So you've had it in some theaters, festivals.
We did. We did film festivals first, and then we did an outreach campaign, which led to the theatrical release. And since then, I mean, we've had nearly 300 screenings.
Wow. In
140 cities and 16 countries. So I am humbled and honored that the film has been so incredibly well received.
And award-winning.
It is award-winning. We got 27 awards.
27, but who's counting?
we stopped counting at some point. But
and it's narrated by Liam Neeson.
Right.
And I asked you that story because I think as a filmmaker, it was, you know, people are interested. How did you get Liam Neeson? And it was very, you know, you were bold enough to reach out to his agent. And, and when things are meant to be, they fall into place. So
that's right.
It must have been near. Did you know nature was near and dear to his heart?
You know, I had a list of 12 celebrities, and he was my top choice not necessarily because he's, like a big environmentalist in the news or anything like that. It was mostly because I just think his essence is beautiful. And I felt intuitively, it's one of those things you don't know for sure, but intuitively I kept thinking he is the voice of sapiens, the voice of Homo sapiens, which is the main character of our film.
Right.
The voice character of our film, since it's really the story of our species. And he has that beautiful voice. I mean, besides the fact that it's gorgeous, it's also like that beautiful combination of gentleness with strength.
I love that you
Right?
knew exactly the voice you wanted and you manifested it.
Well, I'm very grateful to him that he said yes. I was
Because
blown
we're
away.
wrapping up, I want to give people a little synopsis of what the film is about.
Sure. So basically, we have gone too far in terms of disconnecting from nature. And what the film does is that it takes people into this beautiful and intimate immersion of our relationship with the natural world. And it also points that renewing our connection with nature is critical, both to our personal health, but also to the health of our planet.
Right.
And so, it is the story of our species in terms of our relationship with nature. Where do we come from, and where are we at, and where are we going in terms of this relationship? And, the film really has an effect on people of inspiring them and just moving them to realize how much they actually have an inner yearning that they don't even realize it until it's awakened in many cases.
Yeah, the technology so suffocates us in this world today,
Right.
that to reconnect with nature and even put your feet back into the grass is so grounding and life-changing to people when they get reconnected back to nature. And I think it's a beautiful message of your film. Yes,
I think it's critical,
and we don't have the time, but the biomimicry I know is important to you, about how there are things in nature that we can be using to help heal the planet,
Right.
and find cures for things. So,
Exactly.
But it's a beautiful film, and I want people to visit lovethinature.com and check out this film. And thank you for making such a beautiful film, such
My
dedication.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I hope that people get inspired by it, continue to get inspired by it, and have an opportunity to allow themselves to really, experience that connection. I usually say to people, make time on a daily basis, even if it's like opening a window in the morning and taking a nice breath of fresh air, or going on a walk for 15 minutes.
I
Those are
love that.
critical things that can help us.
We're going to end on that note as far as taking a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for being on, Sylvie.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Catherine.
You bet. And
Yeah.
we'll be right back with SenYon Kelly.
She'll be right back.
Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Thrive show, where we bring you powerful and positive programming about women and those who support women's empowerment. It seems by sharing their stories and showing us their talent and potential, they remind us of our own. We ask you to join us weekly by taking a minute to subscribe to our 360 Karma YouTube channel, so you get to see every episode of these uplifting and inspiring stories. We all need more of this, yes? And did you know we have the Live, Love, Thrive book on our 360 Karma website and on Amazon? If you enjoy reading books of incredible women who are doing amazing work in the world, you will want to pick up a copy. Also, when you join 360karma.com, you will enjoy our growing video content of expert advice and support, and learn about our workshops and our second annual Women's Conference in West Hollywood, November 3rd and 4th of this year. If you would like to align with a like-minded, purpose-driven community, you will feel at home at 360karma.com. We encourage and support you to live the life you love.
RTB Financial Group empowers women to raise the bar and take control of their financial future. For more information, visit rtbfinancialgroup.com or call Amanda Barr at 424-284-4216. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with SenYon Kelly. Hi, SenYon. How are you?
How are you doing, Catherine? Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. I'm excited to have you on today. We've just recently met, and I'm just so impressed with all the various things that you're doing.
Yes.
You truly are a serial entrepreneur.
That's
and
right.
we're going to talk about all the fascinating things
Okay.
that you're doing. But first, I want to talk a little bit about where you're from. I know you were born here in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was born in Los Angeles and raised in Gardena, California, which is about maybe 6 miles south of Los Angeles.
Okay. Well, and your dad was in construction.
Yes, my
And
father
your
was in
mom?
construction, and my mom was in banking and
Yeah.
bookkeeping and things like that. Yes.
So it's great you got such a nice combination of the two, didn't you?
Yes,
like
I did.
Your artistic side and then your very business savvy side, which is invaluable.
Yes, yes.
And,
my father was he was actually a musician. So
Oh.
yeah, and my mom had a love for film. So between my dad being a musician and my mother having a love for film, that's how I really developed the bug for wanting to be in the music and film industry.
Oh, yeah. And what you do in the music and film industry is very interesting, and we're going to get to that. Okay. So what were they like growing up with? What was your dad like?
You know, my dad was very, very outgoing, very forward thinking. I mean, I would.
Visionary?
Yeah, he was a visionary and really into critical thinking, and a lot of that was passed on to me. There will be times that we would be sitting together, and he'd think about, you know, what if they did this or what if they did that, as far as an invention, and maybe like 5 years later it would happen. So
Yeah.
his thought process was very forward thinking, which actually, you know,
Yeah.
helped
You
me to
got
grow
that.
as a person too. Very instilled in morals and values, treating everybody with respect, no matter where they were from or, you know, what their background was.
Right.
Always making sure that you did that. So my family had the house. It was the type of house where everybody would come to when their parents gave them a hard time.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's
my
so
parents
cool.
they were like the parents, everyone's parents in the community. And even to this day, people say, you know, Mr. Kelly, Mr. and Mrs. Kelly were like the best parents that I had outside of my parents.
So you were really lucky.
Yes, I was very lucky,
Yeah.
very fortunate.
Now, your parents were together since they were 11 years
So
old.
11 years old, yes. Yeah.
That's really young.
Yep, and they married in their early 20s and had me, and you know, just built a solid foundation for me as a young adult. And
But now, unfortunately, your dad passed when he was only 39.
well, actually, my mom passed away.
Oh, it was
My
your mom.
My mom passed away when I was 15 years old. I was in high
Oh
school.
my gosh, it was your mom.
It was my
Wow.
mother. She had cancer, and you know. But the one thing I was just talking with someone outside earlier today was, even though she was going through so much, she was still handling her business no matter
Yeah.
what. It was like we were going to the bank and making sure that I had money for, you know, my college fund. And it's just like this lady, you know, I'm watching her die before my eyes, and
Unbelievable.
she
You know,
was
my
still
mom
making
was the
sure she
same
took
way.
care of business. That was my family.
That was my mom. She had
Yeah.
cancer as well. And I remember she was in the hospital, and my dad's like, "Oh, I'll do the checkbook," and she's like, "No,
Yeah.
bring it here to the hospital. I'll do it."
Yeah, yeah.
They like, you know, when they've got that in their veins, that's who they are till
Right.
the day they go, which
Exactly.
is cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you got your business sense from your mom.
Yes, from my mother,
And,
and then my dad was in construction. Actually, my family is in construction. My father passed away in 2006.
Okay.
And you know, up until he died, he was in construction. But you know, that's what, you know, my family.
Meaning he
is.
was a
And-
builder.
Yeah, he was a builder,
Yeah.
and it's interesting to be, you know, to go around Los Angeles and see different things that he built,
Oh, isn't
or
that
you know,
cool?
different structures that my uncle built. My mom's brother, Edward Boykin, is Boykin Construction. My cousin Mia Boykin is actually running that right now. Very successful business. So.
And didn't you mention that they helped build the Universal City Walk?
Yeah, Universal City Walk, the
Which
first
is
stage
an
of that.
iconic place
yeah,
here.
the first stage of Universal City Walk.
Wow.
Also the Hollywood Highland Center, part of that, and
Yeah.
also the Larry Flint
Oh my God, the
publication,
Larry
yeah.
Flint building?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, that is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is one interesting thing about, my dad was a builder, and it's
Okay.
always interesting because it's such a legacy they leave behind.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And your mom and your dad, so your dad never remarried, but you did have a brother.
Right, that is correct. He never remarried, but he
Mm-hmm.
did have a son with a girlfriend.
Right.
And it was interesting because for the first 2 years of his life, we were in his life, and then you know, his mom moved away and there was differences and everything. And so for 21 years, I looked for him.
For your brother.
Yes, I searched out for him and returned letters and knocking on doors. It's like, you know, he doesn't live here anymore. It's like, okay, and I never gave up. And found him in 2006, about 3 months after our father passed away. So it's like re-meeting someone and to actually look at someone who looks, you know, like me or looks like my father, our
so
father.
now you have that brother in your life.
Yes, I do,
Oh,
and
that's
his
great.
fiancee, Ebony, and I have a niece, Jordan.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, you are a serial entrepreneur if I ever met one. I love that from the day I met you. I was like, wow, you're doing so many fascinating things. So let's talk about each one.
Okay.
First of all, you have a company that does film and music memorabilia.
Yes, I do.
Which is interesting. I think
Yes.
we have a picture of you with Motownopoly.
Yeah.
Is that one of the pieces? Yeah. And I've never even heard of that.
Yeah,
How
it's hard to
cool.
find.
Yeah.
It is.
And what made you get interested in that? I know you've collected things from like 1910 and forward.
Right.
And have given information and materials to different film projects and
Right.
TV projects,
Yes.
right?
That's correct.
What are some of those TV and film projects, like the NBC Roots documentary?
So basically, to back up, I started collecting when I was 6 years old.
When you were 6 years
I
old?
was 6 years old. I started collecting albums. My dad bought me my first album collection when I was 9. He started me out. I didn't listen to albums that most kids would listen to. I had like Marvin Gaye, Parliament, things like that.
Yeah.
But how I got into that business is because not only my love for the film and music, but I would actually have film that people couldn't find at like Blockbuster or Tower, and they would ask to borrow my films.
Oh my gosh.
You know, at the time VHS.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, maybe there's a need for this. So then I started like doing parties, and then from there, then came the entertainment memorabilia and collectibles. So eventually I ended up owning the posters and, you know, lobby cards and things like that for the movies. So my first, the first time I ever went, you know, actually had a TV program that I worked on was Roots celebrating 25 years. And that was in 2002. It aired on NBC. And a friend of mine who worked with me at the time was like, you know, I know someone who is getting ready to do this documentary for NBC, and I think you will be great for it. So, you know, I remember being in the elevator with all my Roots memorabilia and thinking to myself, I'm going to get this job. They just need to tell me when to start.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, I got the job, and from there, people would call me up to get information for them to research for, you know, different movies or films, or need to have
Right.
something to reference, point of reference. And so, more recently, I worked on as a researcher archivist on Jules Ketchman documentary.
I love
And-
that film,
yeah,
by the way.
and
that
C.F.
Fitz
Fitz,
did.
C. Fitz.
Love C. Fitz.
Yeah, C. Fitz is the best. And Jewel Thais Williams
Love
is amazing.
Jewel. Oh my God, what
And
amazing
So
story.
yeah, so I had an opportunity to work with them, and you know, pulling all the old pictures and things like that from the 70s and 80s. And,
Yeah.
You know, and so the next step will be working with the Universal Hip Hop Museum that's coming up in New York. It's going to be built in the Bronx in 2024. So I'm talking with them about using some of my collectibles that I have for their, you know,
Very
for
cool.
their
So that's
stuff,
one
so.
business. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Then when I first met you, you were telling me about you have the licensing to Jimi Hendrix art.
Yes, I do.
For home goods, and now also for clothing.
Yes, I do.
Which is so
Yes,
exciting.
actually, yes. My friend of mine, Sisto Cecilia, introduced me to a guy by the name of Tom Ford, who owns 47 of Jimi Hendrix's original art pieces that he drew himself, mostly watercolors.
And a lot of people didn't even know Jimi Hendrix was an artist.
Right, they did not.
Yeah.
And so what happened was that they were in the process of deciding who they were going to work with for a couple of different projects. And so I encouraged Sisto to say, hey, look, you know what, I'll go in and help broker this deal for you to be able to get the licensing. And as a result of that, he brought me on board. And then I brought my business partner, Alan Savori, the editor-in-chief and founder of SOVO magazine, on because of his network in music and film too.
Which is another entire project you're working on, which is the launch of a new magazine called
correct.
SOVO.
SOVO.
With your partner, Alan.
Yes.
And we need to talk about that. I know it's like this really unique magazine.
Right.
There's never been one like it before. It's coming in like a plexiglass delivery. It's $150. It's a collectible. that you've have numbered. So I think there's only 500 of them.
There's only 500.
And when you unravel it and put it up, it's like a piece of art. So I can't even fathom what I've already ordered mine,
right?
But I can't even fathom what this is going to look like.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Alan is a pleasure to work with, and our creative director Farida Amar is amazing. I mean, she came on board and really brought the magazine to life. So I have to give her props for that.
So it has different things you guys are featuring in it, from music to tech, right?
Yeah, music, tech, medicine. We're talking about revolution. There's 9 different segments of the magazine. So basically, with SOVO, what it is that we're really grounded in the idea of people being able to curate their own life. You know, it's like, as Alan would say, it's like everyone's always looking on the outside for answers. You know, they're looking to social media, the news for answers, when a lot of the times the answers are really within ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And so we really develop a platform for people to be able to, you know, see the different things that are going on that from a different point of view. And, you know, we feature people who are up and coming and people who are already established musicians and different artists, and just basically bringing that to life. The magazine's based out of South Central Los Angeles, and but we are,
some of the music
really
people involved you mentioned to me are like Carlos Santana and
we have
Eric
support of
Clapton
Carlos and some different people. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we're looking forward to it. It comes out February 2018. That's our first issue.
I'm excited.
And we have several parties and different events that are going to be centered around that until we actually get to that launch. So if you go on the website, check it out. And
that's SOVOmagazine.com.
SOVO Magazine.
SOVO Magazine.com.
Yes.
Yeah, people need to check that out and see what that's all about.
Yeah.
The mystery magazine. Yeah.
It's art. It's art in a box.
Yeah.
Really. And it's like it's going to always be changing. It's never going to look the same. It's never going to have the same format. And again, it's a collectible, so, you know, people are really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I know you're coming out, we're both coming out in Angelino Magazine in December, and you're featured as one of the dynamic women.
Yes.
And I was reading a little bit about that. Some of the things in it were fascinating, like what's on your bucket list.
Yeah,
and
what's on the bucket
we'll
list.
share it a little ahead of time. I love what's on your bucket list. So you want to start a nonprofit that helps youth entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, I think that is important because, I mean, you've got, you know, young kids that don't know how to balance checkbooks. They don't know what it's like to save.
They don't really teach that
You know,
in
they
school.
don't. No
Isn't
stocks
that
and
amazing?
bonds, annuities, things like that.
They'll teach history, science, things like that, but they don't teach the nitty-gritty tools that people need for, like, financial decisions.
That's
you
true.
know.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that you want to do
thank
that.
you.
I know you're all about supporting other entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I know it's one of the reasons you're featured on our She Tank panel.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
next Friday.
Yeah, our event's coming up November 3rd, and you're one of the panelists on our investor panel that will be listening to the pitches of female entrepreneurs and getting behind them with funding and mentorship. And I know I've already introduced you to a couple people that are trying to get their business started. And one of your strongest points is that you're really good at helping them put together business plans.
Yes.
Which that's an invaluable gift. I mean, it's something necessary to every business in order to be successful, but it's something that rarely do people know. I know you said your grandmother really impacted you in telling you about how important it was, that business aspect, learning that business aspect.
Yes, and that was my mom's mom. Was very insistent on
very forward thinking for her time.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
So it's like I always remember that in the back of my head. Some of the times I'm in a situation, it's like, okay, what would my grandmother do here, or what would my mom or dad do here? Because they're no longer here, but I still carry them in spirit and
absolutely
making my decisions in business. Yeah.
I'm a big believer what you said earlier, listening to your insides. I say your insides never steer you wrong.
Right.
That's really
true.
a good guidepost.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing on your bucket list, hang gliding. Are you crazy? I used to want to do parachuting, but then after 50, I kind of got over that. I'm like, no, I've seen people break bones. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to give it a shot at least once.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. You're fearless. I like that. And you want to hang glide where? Here or somewhere, you know?
Someplace, well,
like
maybe like
Switzerland
another,
or something?
Like, I don't know, like overseas or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Something different. I mean, it might as well be 2 in 1.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I see that you want to invent something, get a patent.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what that might be, or just?
Right now, no, because I'm so focused on the projects I'm working on. But, there are a couple of things that have actually come out that, many, many years ago I was thinking about. For example, Netflix.
Yeah.
I thought about that when I was like 15 because of having right when the VHSs started coming. I was just like, wouldn't that be kind of cool? Like if you can order a movie and just put it in the mail, and they send it to you and then you send it back and then.
Yeah. And then there you go.
So it's like some of the things that I think about have already happened. So that just tells me that my brain is processing and critically thinking of ways to evolve and make something that other people would enjoy.
Yeah. I've always been the same way. I always kind of thinking of something, but usually it's a little ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like when I did I Can't Marry You about gay marriage back in 2002, people were like, are you crazy? That's never going to happen. And then here we are, So it wasn't that crazy.
Right.
Let's see, what else was on that bucket list? Trying to think.
It was to be able to actually have some of the collectibles and memorabilia I have in the National African American Museum.
Right.
Yes. So
and you wanted to start a museum, right?
Start one of my own. Yeah. But I figured it would be if I could, as my friends know that I use the word leverage, is like to be able to leverage the museum and kind of get out there and let them know what I have, because some people don't know what I have.
Yeah.
It's really kind of a close knit group of people that know what I do. So just kind of get out there and get my feet wet. But ultimately, I would like to have a museum to put my things in because it's quite a bit. Collecting for so many years, I've got Josephine Baker programs from the 20s. I've got original Jimi Hendrix posters, music posters, and the old lunch boxes from the 70s, and a lot of really rare games. Like I have a Jackson 5 board game that not very many people have.
Oh my gosh.
So I've got some pretty cool stuff.
And where do you find this stuff? Is this like
garage
sales?
But garage sales. People give me things. People tell me about, my grandmother's cleaning out her garage. Why don't you come take a look at it? And there have been times I've seen things and it's like, you know what, you might want to see how much it's worth first before you just give it away. And people have been very grateful because it's like, oh my gosh, that stuff that I wanted you to come look at is worth like $5,000. I had no idea.
Oh my God, that's so cool of you.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about you. You just beam with integrity and wanting to help other people.
I love that. I love helping people.
Yeah, I read your synopsis for the magazine, and it was about if I can just help somebody every day, it makes the day worthwhile.
Yes.
And I think we're very aligned like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is all about helping people.
Yes.
I always say that when people go to networking things,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why they go in with what's in it for me when the real joy is what can I do to help other people.
Yes.
And it's so easy to, connect people or, put them together with things that they need or want, and they get such joy out of it, and then you get such joy out of them getting joy out of it, right?
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So I like that you want to help other entrepreneurs. I think that's very cool.
Thank you.
So you're going to be on She Tank next week,
Yes.
and we have some really innovative ideas that are being pitched. I'm so excited about it.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it, do you think, that you would like to do next? Because, you're so busy in all these different ventures. Is there something on the horizon that's, kind of another dream of yours?
Right now, there is a project that I put on hold for a little while. It's called Praline Dianti, and it's a gourmet praline candy that was produced by my friend and business partner, Daryl. And it's an amazing piece of candy. It's one of those things where it's just like the timing wasn't right, but at the time, the Bellagio, the Omni Hotel, and Disney wanted to carry the candy, but it's just a matter of getting the equipment to be able to produce as many as we needed. So
right.
That's something that is on the horizon as far as business.
Yeah, that's a whole other genre.
That's
to
a whole
learn,
other
isn't
genre.
It?
It's
manufacturing.
Yeah, it's
probably
it's
best
huge.
to team up with someone who has that expertise.
Right. But it's really, really good. I'm hoping to be able to bring some to next Friday.
Oh, I
for
love
you guys
it.
To try. Yeah.
I love that. That sounds exciting. Yep. I knew you had something in your back pocket. So I know your parents actually moved you to the West Coast from they moved here from Alabama.
They did.
And back in the 60s, Alabama, that had to have been really challenging to live there. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
So thank goodness they moved out here to LA and you were born here,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It was a transition.
Do they ever share stories with you of what it was like growing up in 1960s Alabama?
Yeah, actually there was a lot of sharing. My dad would talk about like the whites only water tanks and things like, water fountains and things like that. And he would tell me that he would sneak and drink from it. And my grandmother would like, you better stop that, and then my mom would tell me stories about different things too.
It's so unfathomable, isn't it?
It was.
I mean, I grew up in D.C. where they had that black and white water fountains like you're talking about. And I don't really remember it because I was so young. But I see the pictures, even just like in that most recent film. What's the film about the NASA women? And it was shot in D.C.
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures, yeah. And I would imagine that young people must look at that and just disbelief.
Right. And it wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
In fact, in my lifetime, I remember when they started integrating the schools and what a big uproar that was. Yeah. And I think I was in middle school then. And it's hard to believe that's in our lifetime. Yeah. But it's hard to believe a lot of things that are going on today.
Yes,
right
I can think of a whole bunch of things.
It's a shame we kind of seem to be stepping backwards, but I guess it's always one step back, 2 steps forward. So I think we're right now in that one step back, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that means 2 steps forward.
Right. And I'm hoping that too, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important for Alan Savory to have produced SOVO magazine, is because there's so many things that are going on. It's just like when you read the magazine and you read the articles, they're just, I can't even think of a word to describe it. It really does.
Really profound.
Help you. Yeah, it really helps you like kind of get away from everything that's going on around you, but in a positive way.
Right.
It's like we got to bring back, get back into ourselves and not be so caught up in what's going on, because it's going to happen.
Right.
Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but the only thing that you really can control is how you, react to something.
I am
and
such
how
a big
you talk
believer
to someone,
in this. Yeah. You can only have any say-so over your own actions.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
I'm a big believer in that. I know people that consume that news every day, and I find that is so debilitating. Yes, I think we should be aware, but there's a difference between being aware and being all consumed by it.
Exactly.
And I think we have to expend our energy on doing good things. For me, it's the Live, Love, Thrive platform and telling positive stories of women that are doing amazing work in the world and creating a conference and workshop that provide the resources and tools for women that are wanting to step up their game and live their highest self and leave their legacy and give their gifts to the world. And so I'm so happy to have you a part of the She Tank experience. Women only get about 5% of traditional funding for their businesses, which means 95% goes to men. So the only way we're ever going to break that, I believe, is things like She Tank, where women are investing, successful women are investing in up-and-coming rising women to help them succeed too. It's going to be us taking things into our own hands to fix it.
Right.
So I think, we're on the road.
Yes.
I think, there's a fire lit under women today, and we're starting to learn that we do have to help each other.
Right.
There is such an old boys network where they do help each other. And I always say no one wants to belong to the old girls network, but we can call it the bold girls network.
Yes, I like that.
And that's us helping each other out.
That's right.
And I think you and I are all about that.
Yes.
I know.
I live for it.
Yeah. All the projects you're working on, I'm behind you, and vice versa.
You.
And so we kind of get that. And we've got to spread that way of thinking to women around the country and around the world, that women should be helping women.
Yes.
And we are so much stronger that way. Yeah.
I agree.
Change is coming.
Yeah.
Change is coming.
It is.
So thank you so much for being on today. I love all the cool things you're doing, and I especially love that you're helping other entrepreneurs make their dreams come true. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's a wonderful gift that you have to be able to do that, to help others. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll be here next week with other extraordinary women. Make it a great day. Hugs and happiness.